As a whole, each town in our diverse state faces different challenges during the pandemic.
Tonight, we're joined by 9 mayors from across the state in Naperville, Matteson, Champaign, and Peoria.
We are also joined by the mayors of Springfield, Rock Island, Rockford, Moline, and Belleville.
We'd like to welcome all those mayors to the screen now, joining us all virtually, of course, by Zoom or some measure of that. Yep. Thank you all for being here, tucked away in your homes and offices. We appreciate your participation. I want to start with something sort of basic. The big question around town, up here and around the state is your area ready to reopen? How about a show of hands from all of you? Is your municipality ready to open their doors? Oh, look at that.
How many of you all have been ready to open?
Little bit, some yes and some no. So tell us too, I would love for you all to paint a picture of where you are around the state and what things look like from a business perspective, if you could. Let's start in Rock Island. Mayor Mike Toms, tell me your thoughts.
My thoughts is that, of course, we're ready to open up. We've been talking to the businesses here locally, especially this last week when the governor decided to loosen up a little bit and accelerate the restaurants and bars. But, you know, we struggle here. One of the areas we struggle is we're on the border of Iowa here. And so they've already opened up and they've been open and they allow people inside the restaurants and bars and some of the businesses. And that's where we struggle. We've had some citizens that are some flight over to Iowa and spending their money there.
And the border towns really having a challenge there. Sorry to interrupt you. I want to turn now to Mayor Mark Eckert, to another border town near East St. Louis in Belleville. Your thoughts?
Well, like Tom said, St. Louis, Missouri is really 15 minutes from Belleville. And we got a number of people who work there, but we also have number of people since it's been open already who are migrating over there to shop and to get their haircuts, which they're dying to do, and their hair fixed and their nails done. Mm-hmm. So it has made it more difficult the last 2 weeks with Missouri. They were later to close and they're opening earlier. So I think that's agitated a lot of our business owners when Memorial Day weekend Missouri was open. It scares me a little bit because some of the pictures on the news show, like Lake of the Ozarks, the large parties. And I fear that people use good judgment when they do reopen.
And if we could turn to Champaign, let's head to Central Illinois. Mayor Deborah Frank Finan, love to hear from you too, how things feel differently. And we're talking about a college town, right?
We are talking about a college town. The university has not made a decision yet as to exactly how they will be handling classes in the fall. Our businesses are prepared to open, though. We have a group called Champaign County Safe website where you can go and download sector plans to help businesses understand what they need to do in order to reopen. They can take a safe pledge so that citizens and the businesses know what's expected. And we have our bars and our restaurants prepared to open throughout our city starting tomorrow.
Let's talk about joblessness. 40 million Americans unemployed since March, a really startling number. Let's go to Peoria and Jem Artis. Who's unemployed in Peoria?
Well, Tama and Julie, first, thanks for having this group of mayors on tonight. I think it's really important for people from throughout the state to hear how important it is for us to get Illinois back opened up again. Most of this group, if not all of this group outside of Mayor Tirico, is not in the Chicago area. And the rest of the state is very anxious to get back open. Who's not working here? Bar owners, restaurant, all the people that work in the restaurants, a lot of the retail, a lot of barbers, personal service folks, and the trickle-down effect of people who are subsequently not working because those folks can't work. And really, it's that domino effect that's rippling through all of our communities that is crippling all of us.
We wanted to get to a viewer question. Bradley from Springfield asks, why can I go to Indiana, Missouri, and Wisconsin and sit down to eat inside a restaurant, but not in Illinois? Why don't we head to Springfield? Jim Langfelder, why don't you tell us, what do you think about that? Why can't we eat in Illinois restaurants?
Well, that's been the challenge from the start. I know the concern of the governor, as well as all of us, is people being able to travel within the state originally. Now they can go out of state and how they come back. We do have in Springfield, we have a lot of compliance going on, but people are getting anxious. And now we have some restaurants or a few businesses challenging that order. And it really hurts from a health perspective, but also from others, it risks the others that are being compliant. But we have kept it together. Everybody's anxious to open. We look forward to doing what we can. And that's the balance. How do you keep the social distancing through the rest of this year while reopening our businesses and other facilities to provide services that people want and need to thrive?
I'd like to talk to Rockford for a moment. Mayor McNamara, when we talk about getting back to business, one of the biggest challenges, of course, is how you'll handle things when doors do start to open, even if it's in a smaller capacity. I want to show you some video from Savannah, Illinois. Maybe you saw this earlier in the week because it was over Memorial Day weekend. This was a biker bar in Savannah where the proprietor, the owner, said, you know what, I've got to make a living, and welcomed people right into that bar, and it was overflowing. How would you handle things if this were happening in your town? Again, we'll go straight to Mayor McNamara.
So first, thank you again for having all the mayors on. It's really important. The mayors are the front line of government in this COVID crisis. So we've been really fortunate. I think the vast majority of our citizens and business owners, although frustrated at times, they certainly understand what this crisis is from the health perspective. So the first thing that we've done is educate people. We're not out there with police or anything of that nature. We're out there educating citizens and business owners, and they've done a tremendous job. So we've thankfully not had to deal with what Savannah has had to deal with. But I would add, we're on the border as well, and we are seeing Wisconsin open, and it's incredibly frustrating for small business owners. So we are really excited for tomorrow to start so that some of these small business owners can get back to their livelihoods.
Let's go to Moline. Obviously, COVID-19 has decimated local economies. Stephanie Acri, how are you paying for this?
Well, the city of Moline, we've been challenged in many different aspects. The city itself, our finances have been impacted. We're looking at about a 10% shortfall of what we had budgeted. And so we're working hard to make adjustments in our own budget to not impact services to our community. But the community members themselves, we have small businesses that have work on very tight margins, and they're really struggling right now. So our focus has been in supporting them and getting them the resources that they need to bridge the gap of what they're experiencing.
I want to toss things to Matson if I could and talk to the mayor there, Sheila Chalmers-Curran. Tell us how e-learning has been going in your area. Everybody's dealing with it. Households, some are handling it well, not so well. How are things going as far as you know?
It's going as well as to be expected. This is all new for so many of us, and so it's going as well as to be expected. Of course, we keep in communication with our superintendents here, and they're doing a great job. But just like anything that's extremely new, it takes time to really develop and get the resources to do as best you can. So we are doing well. We'd like to see things go back to some normal life, but we're doing as best we can in the situation that we have here in reference to e-learning.
Let's go to Naperville. Steve Chirico. Obviously, as we enter phase 3, stores are allowed to open, though, with customers at 50% capacity. Will that be enough for your stores to make money and to stay open, to survive, frankly?
No. It won't, but it's better than being closed completely. And we're grateful that the governor modified his phase 3 criteria so that the restaurants could at least begin to get some blood flowing again, because they were in full cardiac arrest a week ago. And so this is a step in the right direction, but we're very anxious to move from phase 3 to phase 4. And I think like a lot of these mayors here, I'm sure, have experienced that the criteria, at least from our perspective in our county, really supports doing that.
I'd love to ask you all too, do you feel like you're being heard in other parts? When we talk about downstate Illinois, central Illinois, do you feel like you're left alone to make these decisions? Or do you feel like there is some comfort in the outlets that you're using, whether that's talking to the governor's office, talking to other mayors in other towns, as we're trying to do right now? I'll throw that one, if I could, to the Rock Island. Mayor Thoms, what are your thoughts?
My first thought is no, I don't think that the quote downstate is being heard. There's no doubt it's a lot different outside the Chicagoland area. And so I think that it should be accelerated. We should be in phase 4 right now, is my belief. And we've not been heard on that message. So I do feel left out on that part. I do feel that having collaboration with other mayors, that's been very good. We're here in the Quad Cities. It's got 5, 6 cities surrounding us that we've been able to communicate with those mayors and share resources, share ideas, and so that's been very helpful. But Springfield, unfortunately, we've not seen much help out of it yet.
As the state prepares to move into phase 3, contact tracing is going to be required within 24 hours of a positive COVID-19 diagnosis. Want to get a sense of how you're doing with contact tracing in your region? Why don't we go back to Peoria? Jim Ardis, how's it looking?
Yeah, Taman, that's really one of the strong suits that Peoria has here. We have an outstanding medical community, very strong hospitals, but our health department, Monica Hendrickson is the head administrator at the health department, is an epidemiologist. I can proudly say that the information that she's been sharing with IDPH is information that's being used by the state to guide us through this. And they have an outstanding group of contact tracers, and we're actually helping surrounding communities because of the capacity that we've grown here in Peoria.
I'd like to throw that same question, if I could, to Mayor Chalmers-Curran as well, because you're in a different part of the state. Contact tracing, and add to that perhaps the testing involved.
Well, one of the things that I think we should first enter is the idea that we're so close to Chicago. We're 30 miles outside of Chicago, and the village of Matheson itself is one of the individuals our community is concerned about, making sure that individuals are safe here. Unlike some of the other areas that we're talking to, some of the other mayors, we have to be concerned about how we are making sure that our residents are safe. As you know or may not know, that 19 deaths have occurred in the village of Matheson itself. So of course, that type of tracing and tracking is extremely important, and we're going to be working with everyone that we can in order to make that happen and to work with the governor. I am continually wanting to keep our community safe and listening to the governor as to how we can move that forward. So we're very concerned and working toward making sure that tracking is a part of what happens in the village of Matheson.
The legislature passed a budget that holds spending mostly flat. Let's go to Springfield again. Jim Langfelder, are there projects that you had hoped would be funded that were not funded by the legislature?
Well, time will tell, especially with the income tax. I think with the vertical construction, we have received some infrastructure. We appreciate the governor and the legislature pushing forward I think it's $50 million for immediately. And then, but with regards to one thing, Mayor Thoms, I agree with you as far as smaller rural areas haven't been heard enough. With regards to smaller towns, my family comes from rural areas on my wife's side, and they have a lot that could happen. They only have a few restaurants, few businesses, and once those close up, it will be a struggle to get them back. Springfield's somewhat resilient. I have relayed that to the governor's office. I do have a representative, and I believe the governor's office is listening because they've taken action, and he's really built into some of the phased approach that he's kind of modified. But the 14 days should be looked at. You should be looking at different areas of the state that can be opened up more rapidly when it makes sense.
All right, mayors. Well, thank you so much. 9 mayors from across Illinois. Thank you so much. Good luck to you. It was great to chat. Let's bring in.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate it.